The biggest concern that anybody should have at this time, Abhijit Iyer, is the potential of escalation by miscalculation, where it's not desired for a particular outcome to be the end result, but just in the manner in which things go, it moves up the escalation ladder in a way that things become much bigger. And we're seeing a lot of American generals and other top military experts talk about this being the most dangerous moment in the world since after the end of the Cold War.
Absolutely, Rahul. Look, sometimes we think that terror organizations think through their actions. In fact, if you look at the actions of the last 20, 30 years, even more, you'll find that, terror organizations tend to focus on that one big moment. And they don't actually calculate what happens after that.
Do you think the Hamas thought of that moment, or have they thought through the IDF attack as well?
I don't think they have. A lot of people are speculating on the internet that they've planned for this for ages and they're digging down and it's going to be like Grozny again, after Pavel Grachev bombed Grozny to rubble, and then, the Chechens took out wave after wave of Russian tanks going in. You hear all of this speculation. The problem is we haven't seen proof of that. We haven't seen proof.
We haven't seen proof to the contrary either. We haven't seen proof to the contrary either.
We haven't seen proof to the contrary either. So we have to be very careful about speculating. However, if history is anything to go by, terror organizations simply do not think through what comes afterwards. So, for example, Al-Qaeda really didn't plan what was going to come after 9/11. We don't think Pakistan planned what came after 26/11. Very similar things. This is, now assume they have planned, in which case Israel is not the one that is doing escalation dominance at the moment. That escalation dominance lies somewhere else. We don't know where that is. That will be revealed in the course of time. However, if my suspicion is correct and Hamas did not plan what the second and third order effects of this attack are going to be, then you're pretty much in free fall. And I think that's a lot more dangerous because now we don't know. Everybody's sitting and doing their cost benefit calculations at the moment. And the problem with rushed calculations, which do not take in intelligence inputs over weeks, if not years, becomes very dangerous because you're prone to huge amounts of miscalculation.
Okay, let me put that same question to General Hasnain. The one theory is that Hamas is just delighted to have been able to stage an operation of this magnitude, and they probably got luckier than they even imagined. The second is that this is very deeply thought through. Not just did they pull off an operation of this precision and scale, they've also now laid a lot of landmines, booby traps. They're waiting in these tunnels for the Israelis to come in. That it's a trap the Israelis have laid out. But that also sometimes happens where you just start over-imagining the capabilities of your enemy. Which of the two is more likely to be true from what we know in the public domain, General Hasnain? You're on mute.
Thank you. Excellent question. I'm tempted from the top of the head to say that terrorist organizations do not ever have a second order to think about. They always look at conflict initiation, never look at conflict resolution, or never even talk about conflict progression. This is very well true in Kashmir. We have seen what happened with Pakistan and the terrorist organizations that they have been using. But here, when you look at what happened on the 7th of October, this event was a little extraordinary as far as conflict initiation is concerned. I would go along with everyone to say, yes, this is just exactly what terrorists do. But the depth and manner of planning here seems to point to me that there is something more to it. And the manner in which they have developed the tunneling, the manner in which the western seacoast is completely open, the manner in which all kinds of wherewithal has come in. Obviously, Hamas has got itself organized to fight a more conventional kind of a conflict than just a hit-and-run guerrilla kind of a terrorist tactics. And that is, so we will know in the first 7 days perhaps, if Israel decides to go in with ground incursions, I do think the first 5-7 days will be very crucial. Because if they break through, then we'll know that Hamas is on the run. But if right at the outset, in northern Gaza, if they are held back, if from bunker to bunker they got to fight, I'm not sure how adept is the IDF at that under the current circumstances. They have not done this for a fairly long time, and we are aware that training isn't something on which they have been emphasizing a lot in the recent past. So I am tempted to go along and say finally that I think the Hamas has thought this through to a little greater extent than what normal terrorist organizations would normally do.
You know, they're also thinking this through in a very Machiavellian way quite deeply. And I want to cite an illustration. Those two women who were freed, quite old, but both of them have husbands who've been held captive by the Hamas, and that basically means that the more they speak to the media and to the public and to society, they will talk about their husbands still being with the Hamas. It's not just any two random hostages who've been left. These are two people whose husbands are still there, and therefore they're highlighting the fact that they have 200 plus Israelis. These aren't normal Lashkar or Hizb type terrorists. These are terrorists who are working with military precision and military thinking.
Rahul, you're spot on. And the officers of the IDF I spoke to, they said this isn't Hamas thinking, this is the Iranian army thinking. This is the Iranian army that has planned this operation down to the last detail. The fact that they came...
So you're saying like we had this Major Samir and the others of the ISI who were directing
Absolutely.
the terrorists. There are similar Major Samirs from Iran who are doing this.
Not only directing, not only planning, look at the meticulous planning. Terrorists over 1,000 infiltrated, armed to the teeth. They didn't have to go back for ammunition. They carried ammunition, surplus ammunition in pickup trucks. They carried in pickup vehicles. They carried empty vehicles to take back hostages. So they thought this through. They thought this through that we'll need more ammunition. They left behind so much ammunition because they wanted the siege to continue longer. In Sderot, the Hamas terrorists stayed perhaps 3 more days after the 7th of October attack. They carried vehicles to take back hostages. They knew which are the hostages to take back. The women, the children, the soldiers. They've taken back soldiers. They had specific addresses of military installations. They attacked military installations. They had maps of tunnels inside those installations. They blasted those tunnels. They picked up more ammunition and soldiers. That is how they've planned it, including where will the hostages be taken back, when will they be released, and they've planned this to the T.
No, so just tell me, because you spoke to so many Israelis about this tunnel, it's the network of tunnels is called the Gaza Metro, as it were.
Yeah.
Are they connected with each other? Are they just like limited tunnels with a small network, or does it run around large parts of Gaza City and they're actually connected with each other? How big is it? How deep is it?
So from what I was told by IDF officers, and some of them, since they've gone into Gaza in the past,
They've been in those tunnels.
They've been in some of those tunnels. They've photographed some of those tunnels in the past. They've taken journalists, Israeli journalists, in some of these tunnels. So there are shallow tunnels and there are deep tunnels. And Rahul, these are concrete tunnels. They would be, why is it called the Gaza Metro? Because it's not just dug with hands. It's been properly excavated, goes down a couple of levels. It's got concrete roof, concrete walls. It's got electricity, it's got rooms, and perhaps hostages are being kept in those rooms. And it's not just one tunnel, 1,300 tunnels running across. They're underneath mosques, they're underneath schools, they're underneath houses, and civilians are not allowed to use those tunnels. Only the Hamas leadership and
so
cadre.